But the WNBA All-Star Game ratings have come out, and all I could think of right off the bat was 4 little letters. F-A-F-O. F around and find out. You bleep around and find out what this league looks like without Caitlin Clark being involved in your biggest events.
A staggering 40% plunge. That's the brutal reality confronting the WNBA after the release of its All-Star Game ratings. This wasn't a minor setback, it was a full-scale freefall. Even more telling, the league's marquee event failed to draw the audience that a routine regular season matchup featuring Caitlin Clark delivers. The message is impossible to ignore. When the league chose to push its biggest draw to the sidelines, it was warned of the fallout. Now the results speak for themselves. What we're witnessing isn't a surprise. It's a foreseeable breakdown, and the financial damage is only beginning to surface.
Liberty is playing the best style of basketball. They are playing the best basketball currently in the WNBA. And when they just had a nationally televised game on ESPN against the Chicago Sky, against Angel Reese, who was one of the biggest names in the WNBA, they had around 600,000 viewers, which is so low. You cannot make fans watch what they don't want to watch. But all we heard last year is if the fans were only watching the Indiana Fever, only watching games Caitlin Clark was playing in, then they weren't real fans and they didn't like basketball. And you just had so much media and WNBA personalities and even players just shunning
the All-Star Game wasn't the collapse. It was the warning flare. The league's flagship showcase, meant to celebrate its best talent, barely cleared 2 million viewers, a stunning shortfall that validated every concern critics had raised. And the problem runs far deeper. Since Caitlin Clark's absence, Indiana Fever broadcasts have hemorrhaged more than 53% of their audience. These figures don't point to a gradual slide. They signal a mass departure of casual fans. The WNBA didn't just see its spotlight fade. It watched millions of viewers reach for the remote, plunging the league into a blackout of its own creation.
First Sky tickets dropped 71% on TickPick after Caitlin Clark injury. The get-in price for the Chicago Sky versus Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever game was $86. After Caitlin Clark's injury announcement is now down to $25. And you Angel Reese fangirls will still believe and think that Angel Reese is the reason why people are watching the WNBA. Since y'all want to make it about race, this white girl over here is the reason why fans are tuning in to watch.
The ratings only reflected the damage after it had already happened. The real hemorrhage was visible in real time, inside arenas where fans made their choice with their wallets. The clearest proof came from a scheduled matchup between the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky. Before Clark's injury, the lowest priced ticket sat at a healthy $86. Once the injury news broke, that very seat collapsed to $25, a brutal 71% overnight drop. At that point, speculation ended. This was hard currency telling the story. The so-called Caitlin Clark effect wasn't hype. It was an undeniable economic driver. Remove her from the equation, and demand didn't soften, it vanished.
You see, this is exactly what we were talking about. WNBA All-Star ratings are in for 2025, and it is down 40%. 40% from last year. That's bad. That is really bad. We already watched the ticket prices drop by more than 50% because Caitlin Clark was not playing. This is bad news for the WNBA.
So check this out. The game on June 7th, the tickets were originally $86. Same seats, now $25. After her injury announcement, 71% drop in price. Over 71% drop in price. Because she's not going to be in the...
So how did the league steer itself straight into this mess? It wasn't just an injury. It was the result of a season-long, self-sabotaging mindset. For months, a strange and damaging narrative took hold, pushed by certain players and media voices, claiming that the surge of new viewers didn't count because they showed up for Caitlin Clark. Instead of embracing a tidal wave of fresh interest, the league chose to police it, casting out the very fans who were packing arenas and smashing viewership milestones. Now, the WNBA is left staring at the silence where those so-called fake fans once were, asking what happened. The answer is simple. They went where they were welcomed.
Consult the graph that I've just posted here. You'll see that nobody is watching the WNBA. That's the reason why the WNBA isn't making... Oh, sorry, I missed a few of them. So this is the reason why the WNBA isn't making any money, and they're not getting paid. It gets worse.
As the league pushed away its new audience, a far more serious problem was unfolding on the court itself. Star players were dropping one after another. Caitlin Clark was the first major domino, but she wasn't the last. Angel Reese soon followed. Then Sydney Colson, and later Lexi Hull went down on a play many viewed as entirely preventable. What initially looked like bad luck began to resemble a troubling trend. More voices are now drawing the same conclusion and pointing to the same source. This season's officiating has been widely criticized as ineffective at best and reckless at worst. Missed calls are routine. Dangerous contact goes unchecked. And the result is a league where players are increasingly being left exposed to harm.
Given Clark's unprecedented star power, her being confined to the Fever's Gamebridge Fieldhouse sidelines was always going to impact ratings, and she was actually there. It was her team. And the fans sent a clear message.
Person who really should get all the blame is Kathy Engelberg. Yes, this is Kathy Engelberg's doing. You know why? Because she has incompetent referees.
And what's left on the floor now barely qualifies as a product at all. With the headliners gone, games feel more like preseason run-throughs awkwardly aired on national TV. The buzz has drained from the buildings. In half-empty arenas, the sharp echo of a lone bouncing ball says more than the crowd ever could. Broadcasters strain to manufacture excitement, talking up slow, low-scoring possessions that never quite lift off. It's the sports equivalent of buying tickets to a rock concert only to learn the band's been cut and replaced by the sound tech quietly humming into a mic. Right now, the WNBA is trying to market entertainment that simply isn't entertaining.
The All-Star ratings were confirmed, and I have to say, not ideal. Not ideal for the WNBA. And I'll take a look. So, the WNBA All-Star Game had 2.19 million viewers. Like, we can't forget last year peaked at over 4 million. This, in fact, is less viewership than an average